have our own issues in terms of wars, and of course that was the Vietnam War. And regardless of our political views about what our country does, we can never forget that Latinos.
So the 2 years I was here, luckily in those days it wasn't very difficult to get classes, so I was able in 2 years to graduate. And I graduated with a bachelor's in political science, minor in philosophy, and I also did a lot of Spanish courses. The idea was to get into law school, which I did. I applied to 4 law schools. I got accepted to all of them. And I decided to go to Berkeley, Bolt Hall, now known Berkeley Law. And so that was my career path. What happened in the year of 1970 during that summer is that I volunteered to work for the United Farmworkers Union as a boycotter. It was a volunteer position. And I went to Los Angeles, and it got me into the movement quite rapidly. Because what happened is when I was there, I met some people organizing the Chicano moratorium of August 29th, 1970. And so I became involved in that as well. And so pretty much I had defined my path. I wanted to go to law school, which I did, 73 through 75. And during the summers, I would go to volunteer at the various strikes going on in Northern California. In the summer of 73, I went to Salinas, and I volunteered there, as well as in Mendota, the melon strike, which was quite lively. I got to meet a lot of the organizers for the union. In the summer of 74, the year before I graduated from law school, I went to work or volunteer in Stockton at the tomato strike, and that was also quite an experience. There were a lot of arrests, not like in 73, but at any rate, my intention was to return to the union as an attorney and volunteer as an attorney, which I did upon graduation and passing the bar. Major obstacles I had in college, one of the things that helped me not have a lot of the common obstacles was that from the time I was in high school, I started reading through, back then it was catalogs, right? The hard copy catalogs, which you would find at the library for all colleges, not only in California, but throughout the United States. So those were my charts, those were my maps that I used to navigate. So really school was pretty easy in the sense that I knew that in 2 years, for instance, I had to get a bachelor's from San Jose. And then from there, of course, while here, I started reading the catalogs for all law schools that I applied to and more. And so I knew what I was facing when I got there. So once I had those roadmaps, it was really putting things into automatic. Yeah, I had to study. I had to study at least 3 times more when I went to law school as when I was here at San Jose State. But I had the chart, I had the map. My message to students, therefore, is to really become aware in high school. Start looking in any interested career path that you might be interested in, and go visit people. Go introduce yourselves. If you want to be a lawyer, go to the courts. Find a friendly attorney and invite yourself to court with them. Spend time doing that. And at the library, because you're going to spend a lot of time in the library, so you've got to love the books. But that goes for any other career path. Get immersed in it. That's key. And so if you do that, you're going to have less obstacles, certainly as you study on your road to that particular career. If you don't like it, if you find out you don't like it, get out. Get out while you can, because otherwise it becomes a real drawback. I've seen that happen, and it's pretty sad. So it's fun. Make it fun. It's an adventure. And we, the older people, the veteranos, look back on it and look at you and what you're doing, and we live vicariously. And it's also exciting and fun for us.
I live in a place called the Romas, and of all things that I'm interested in, a thing called monarch butterflies. These are endangered species. This is an insect that came from Mexico, and it's originally from Mexico, and it migrated all the way up to here, following a plant called the milkweed plant. And I just felt compelled to to devote my retirement to them, and so that's what I've been doing for the last 18 years. It's been a wonderful experience, but if you get a chance, plant milkweed, because that'll help the monarch butterfly. As a student for you today, just follow your dreams. You know, listen to what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you want to do, and don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anybody hold you back, because you can do it. You can do what it is you want. I came from very humble beginnings, and I was able to achieve a lot of my goals by getting an education. So I wish you the best. Thank you. If you want to learn more about this, we have a website that's available for people. It's www.butterflyplants.com. Butterflyplants, one word, .com. And that'll give you information about the monarch butterflies, and it'll also, if you choose to, you can purchase seeds to plant this milkweed, or you can buy them at Natural Bridges State Park, which is in Natural Bridges, Santa Cruz. Thanks.
My name is Richard Soto, and I was born and raised in Tracy, California, on the south side of town in the housing projects. And I graduated from high school in 1963, and in 1964 I was in the military. I chose medical as my military training, and I was bored, so I asked if I could have surgical training, and they said yes. And I found myself, after I graduated from surgical training at Oakland Naval Hospital, I found myself off the coast of Vietnam, working in an LPH, which is an aircraft carrier that had been converted to carry helicopters. At that time, I was assigned to the Marine Corps, and the helicopters would drop the Marines in a hot zone, and as soon as they were hit, they were brought back to us, and our job was to try to stabilize the seriously injured casualties so that they could be medevaced to a major hospital somewhere in the country, in the world, not just the United States, but somewhere in the world. They would frequently send them to Japan, to the United States, to just other countries. I don't know how many different ones there were. So I got out of the military in 1968. I returned to my hometown of Tracy, registered at San Joaquin Delta College, did my first 2 years lower division work. Then I was accepted to the Mexican American Education Project program under Esteban Arvizu at Sacramento State. And I went on to get my bachelor's degree, my teaching credential, a master's degree, a counseling credential, and so I had a lifetime teaching and counseling credential. I worked at Tracy High School for a lot of years. That was I'm very fortunate that I only worked in one school all my life, my working career. And when I retired from high school as a counselor, I went to work at Tracy Adult School, where I'm still working one night a week. In the last few years of my life, I'm now 74 years old, and in the last few years of my life, I had accumulated close to 20,000 Chicano, Mexicano history books, literature, journals, magazines, artifacts, videos. We have about 300
Hello, my friend. How are you?
LP records, a lot of CDs, especially Los Tigres del Norte, because they all chronicle and are part of our history and culture. So, realizing that I'm 74 years old and that I have a few more years to go, I decided to go public, and I opened up what I call the Chicano Research Center at 2182 East Main Street in Stockton. In the center, we have the books, we have displays, we have a children's room, we have an archival room because we're starting to go more in the direction of archiving the Chicano Mexicano experience in Stockton, California, vicinity, San Joaquin County. We've had a lot of support from the community, people that were in the Chicano movement throughout different time periods and have purchased books and are no longer using them, put them in boxes and they come down and they've donated them to us. And what we do, if we don't have the books, obviously we put it on the shelf. If we have 2 copies of a book, we put them on another shelf. If a high school or younger student comes in, we will give them books for free. We're not going to give them a whole bunch, but we'll give them 1 or 2 to start with. If they're adults, we'll charge them $5 for a book, and of course the $5 goes towards our operating expenses. And you know what? You're not going to find a Chicano book for $5 or less. So they're getting a bargain, and they realize that. But we've already outgrown our space. We're going to be looking for grants to start doing more archival, just like Senor Moreno, is it? Martinez? Ramon Martinez is doing here with the Historical Society. Our story has not been told. Our story has not been told. Our people everywhere, need to get together and start telling the story of our, valiant efforts to stay alive, to keep our culture, to keep our history, old as well as current history, alive, to share it with our youngsters. The library operates under the concept of self-esteem and identity formation through literature. So thank you, Ramon, for these brief words and opportunity to share. If you want to reach out to us, we're at 2182 East Main Street in Stockton, California, Richard Soto, and you can call me at area code 209-943-2460, and that is a message phone. We have a lot of people coming from the Sacramento, Fresno, other parts of California to look at what we have. It's not just limited to Stockton, and we with caution, loan out material.
Give me your email.
ellobo44@comcast.net.
My name is Charlie Locenao. My hometown is Bakersfield, California. I graduated from San Jose State with a minor in Mexican American Studies and a BA in Sociology. My working career was several things. I started out working with nonprofit organizations. I was in those days they call them directors and not CEOs. I worked with educational nonprofits, the business nonprofits. I was a consultant to different nonprofits. And then what I did was I ended up working for the U.S. Postal Service, went into management and retired in 2004. Okay, when I got to San Jose State in 1968, the Chicano movement was just in its infant stage. And there, I was already 25 years old. I was a veteran of 6 years, Vietnam vet. And I came in and all of a sudden, I was involved with a movement, a new movement. And to me, it was one of the most enlightening things in my life. I learned from a lot of younger students, although I was older. We all shared all the positive energy, and we all got involved not only with education, but also with community causes and so forth. The major obstacles I had to overcome my education was I had a family and 2 children when I was going to school, and I had to work part-time most of the time because I couldn't afford to go full-time. It was hard, but yet, you know, I had the passion, and I did graduate. I was a high school dropout. I still am, but I have a college degree. They said I wasn't a college material. Somebody lied, and I knew they were lying to me. Okay, my message today to you students is don't forget where you come from. Treasure your family, keep your family close to you. Recognize the importance of education, whether it's vocational, whether it's college, anyway, whole life's an education. The best thing to do is be a good person and keep your family close to you. Thank you. Remember where you come from. Remember your traditions. Remember your culture. That's who you are. That's your identification. You have to have that to survive, to navigate the system in this complex world. Good luck.
My name is Juan Oliveras. I'm from Salinas, California. I was born in Fresno, California, but I lived in Salinas and I've lived there most of my life. I graduated with an AA from Cornell College, a BA from San Jose State, and an MA and Ph.D. from University of California, Berkeley. And I've been mostly a teacher, but I was a counselor. I also was director of recruitment at UC Berkeley. And at San Jose State, I was head counselor of EOP. And then what else? I also was a city council member in Salinas, and I'm still teaching. And I'm teaching. Mostly, I've been a college professor most of my life, over 30 years, I think. Actually, closer to 40. And now the Chicano movement enabled me. I did at San Jose State. It really made it easier for me to finish. I did not do that great at Hartnell, although I must say that it was during the Vietnam War and you had to get out of there quickly, and so therefore I took 17, 18 units a semester and nothing but required courses, and so it took me a while to I finished in 2 years, but my GPA wasn't that great. When I came to San Jose State, I was able to concentrate because I knew I had up to 5 years before they could get rid of me. And so what happened is that I became involved, and that involvement made it easier for me to kind of really know something about the real world. And so whether it was sociology or history or political science, I felt like I knew something about the real world. And also because of my background as a farm worker, my family lived in camps, and you were sharecropping strawberries, which I learned at one point in sociology that was supposed to be at the bottom of the economic ladder, which I thought, oh my God, I was at the bottom of the economic ladder. But I had brothers who did go to college because of the GI Bill. Because of that, I was able to go on to college. The main obstacles for me really were financial, but really even there I was very lucky to get some jobs right when I came to Hartnell. My brother talked to a guy named I just met his daughter, Monica, but Amador. And so anyway, he helped me get a job. My brother talked to him and he got me a job at Lockheed, and I did that for about 6-7 months. Then I decided to quit, and then I became involved in recruiting students to San Jose State for the new EOP program that was being created. I did that for about 3 or 4 months, and then by the summertime, it became an actual job. They actually started paying me to do that, which changed my whole trajectory in my life, because I thought I wanted to be a high school teacher, but after that I thought counseling, I thought teaching, I thought about other things, which I've done. Today, I think one of the things I keep telling to my students about is really that you need to learn to adjust. Because I think when I was in college, every semester I thought, this would be my major, that's my major. Or even in the workplace, I always thought, I would do this, and then that didn't happen, or it happened differently than I ever imagined it. So I think you need to do that. You need to be determined, persistent, have focus, and believe in yourself. Believe in yourself no matter what. And prepare yourself as well as you can, but it is important to believe in yourself. One of the things, like when I wrote my dissertation, I remember a discussion in one of my classes at UC Berkeley when I first started attending in 71, 72, and this student, an African-American student, was criticizing the student movement and the black student movement because he said they were not ideological. They really didn't know. They had no plan. They had no. And I said, I don't agree with you. And if you read my dissertation, you know that I made a big deal of all the things that people were writing, students, and whether nationally, internationally, and so to me, I thought, I want to write a dissertation in which I point out what these students did know, what they read. So I talk about Memi and Fanon and people like that in Africa, and the Algerian movement. I talk about Black Power and Douglas Carmichael and what he said and how important what he said about coalition building and how to establish coalitions. So to me, I thought we do, as young people, I'm not a young person now, but I mean as young people at the time, I said, we do have ideas. Some of us take the knowledge seriously. And I was telling my daughter that, like yourself and some of the other students in our class that were in my classes in sociology in particular, that many of those people have PhDs or law degrees, but they have advanced degrees. And so I felt that little group was, like in Mauro, for example, he was a thinker. And so to me, I thought, that's the kind of groups that I like. Those are the ones that make sense to me. And I remember that even in parties, people would say, because I wasn't much of a drinker, and so they'd say, how come you don't want to party? And you always want to talk politics. Well, because that's all that I cared about. I mean, I cared about the real, what's real in the world, and I believed that people like you and me and a bunch of others could do that. That we could do that. One of the first people I was impressed by was Bill Sonia. One time in a meeting with the president, they were talking to the president of the college, and he said, and I was hoping he would be here because I wanted to remind him, but he said to the president, he said, it would behoove you to do so and so and that. And to me, I thought, who would ever talk to a president, at the podium of a university with a PhD? Who would say it behooves you, like something you need to do, you have to do it, if it makes sense to you? So the point is that that's what's always been on my mind. The other thing too is that even like I tell people that even as a child, I always thought that I saw a little more than other people. I'm not, I wasn't a grade getter, so grades were never like the most important thing to me. And I was taught by my brothers. I always say jokingly that because they didn't really think I was that smart, so they said, Johnny, even if you get an F, it's okay. Did you learn anything? My brother would say, did you learn anything? And I said, yeah. Okay, then it was worthwhile. So don't worry about it. So I think that really helped me a lot. And I would probably even I do tell my students, don't worry so damn much about your grades. If you work hard to learn, then you'll be fine, that you'll do well, you know what I mean? And so that's one of the things that I think when it comes to, like you say, thinking, and besides, I also wanted to show that Chicanos could do that. And now that I teach like the history of Mexico, the other day I went through all these Mexican intellectuals. And I said,
Ramon, I've been looking for you.
A lot of those people have, so a lot of those people borrowed from, philosophy, from Greek philosophy, from the British, from the German, from the French. So I said, Mexican intellectuals they're of this world of the time. You know what I mean? They're not primitive. They're not backward in anything. I mean, not the intellectual, not the leaders, you know what I mean? And so I think that's one of the things that's kind of driven me to try. That's why I teach Chicanos and teach history, because I want people to understand that we can do that. I believe I can do that, and I believe that a lot of and I know that I'm not the smartest, but I care a lot and I work hard, you know, and I think that a lot of our people work hard. And a lot of people want those things, same things, but I think we need to, you know, like at least for me, that was one of my goals, to get people to know as much, if not more. And I even tell my students, I don't want you to remember everything I say, because what I want to teach you is to be a critical thinker. I want you to question. And it's something, by the way, that I learned here, you know, with Jose Carrasco and with Elio Carranza and Feliciano Rivera. And even though I used to disagree with Feliciano on a lot of stuff, but I still felt that he taught me that. And Felix Garcia also taught me to think critically and to question a lot of what I was doing myself. Like the first year that I taught, Felix Garcia would just sit with me and try to tell me that everything I was doing was wrong in the classroom. But you know what? I kept coming back because, and I think he in the end appreciated that, because even though he told me it's kind of emotional, irrational sometimes, and very too not objective, right? Because he thought of me as too radical. But at the same time, I didn't care. If he could teach me something that would help me in the classroom, you know what I mean? And I respected that he knew that stuff, you know what I mean? He knew about how to think, how to plan, how to write, you know, all these kind of things. So to me, that's what drove me, you know. And even though it took me 20 years to get a Ph.D., for me it was important. But for me, you know what I mean? And even though I know it helps us as role models, Dr. Ramirez, you know, Dr. Martinez, Dr. Oliveira, but it wasn't only for that, it was really for others. Oh, okay. So, yeah.
You work in Salinas area. Name a few books that parents or young adults should read that tell them about Raza history in the area?
Raza history in the area. I know that, well, I don't know too many books that really talk about the, you know, Monterey County in particular, about the area. Good question. Because, you know, when it came to history, to me, it was always, my favorite person was Acuña, you know what I mean? And I used to use Rivera and Meyer and those people and other, you know, Chicanos, but really the one that really, I think, looks critically at all sorts of things and has kept up with like gender issues, you know, and you know, something that even in sociology, even though we knew about it, it wasn't like a major thing. But when I was taking it, when we were taking it, it wasn't a big deal. And I think that even like race wasn't a big deal. I mean, to them, to the academics, to you and me, and maybe to, you know, Harry Andrews, who are teaching here, maybe to him, race was important. But it wasn't to them, and that kind of made it difficult. But I still always felt that I could learn from everybody. And even though I was pretty liberal and maybe radical, I still could learn from even conservative professors. So to me, I didn't hate them or anything. I just disagreed with them, but I didn't. But they gave the grade. If I need an A or a B, then I better get it. so I better do what they asked me to do, whether I like it or not. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that I would like people to realize, that sometimes we do have to adjust or accommodate the system a little bit. And I think too much. I think a lot of people think that I'm not accommodating at all. The only thing is that when I was in the city council, someone asked me one time, what did I want? Like, what do you want? And I said, I want. He says, and what is philosophy? And I said, you know what? I said, I'm a Main Street radical. I said, I'm a Main Street radical. What does that mean? I said, it means that I want the same things everybody else wants in our community. So that's all. I want that for my people. That's all. So I'm not, the only thing is I want it now. That's it. I want it now. Yeah. I said, but otherwise, there's not, like, fix it right, the streets, fix our schools, pay people a living wage. I mean, those are the same things everybody wants. You know what I mean?
Repeat the line about Main Street, wherever.
Main Street Radical.
Defeated. That's a